Leviticus chapter 3 verse 11. The priest shall burn them on the altar as food offering present to the Lord. Here we see there is specific job for a priest. And it matters who does what. The book of Leviticus is very clear. If somebody other than the right person does what the Lord has not allowed, there may be trouble. Isn't that why Uzziah died? Because trying to move the ark to Jerusalem, and David was involved. King David was involved, and he could see the ark is about to fall off the new cart. So, and he's not a priest. He's not a Levite even. He went to touch it, and he died. That showing us that God wants to be served, but he wants to be served according to his dictates. Because that guy was actually serving God, ensuring that the ark of God does not fall down. But because he was not the authorized person to do it, he ended up incurring death. And David was totally confused, because David's intentions were pure and good. But he was emphasizing the intention which is good, but he forgot that there is a system of doing it. And even if he is a king, he is not the one to give instructions. The instructions are already in the book of Moses. It's already clear. The book of Leviticus already gave what the instructions were and how it is to be done. And all of us need to be aware of that. Day 2. So here, we are talking about roles. And it will be important for us in worship to have roles. There's a person who leads choruses. There's a person, or worship, whatever you want to call it. There's a person who preaches. There's a person who ushers. There's a person, and it's important to understand that each of them will need some level of qualification and training in their place. And do not just stamp from anywhere and start doing a job. You could do the wrong thing. The truth, your intentions are good. You actually want to worship the Lord. That's very good. And we thank God for your interest. But at the same time, there is a way of doing things, and you must do it. So, in an orderly service, in an orderly fellowship, in an orderly church, what is your role? Why don't you want to do your role? Or you think because your role is not as celebrated as the other person's role, you want to abandon yours and go to do the other one? For example, one of the most important roles in church is this one of counting offerings. And there are people who have been given the duty of counting offerings. Not everyone can be allowed. It requires a level of integrity to count offerings that have been given and take it to the bank. But a lot of people want to get involved. Now, it will be important to understand if that job may not be glamorous, but if it's not done, the whole church will be in confusion. People start accusing the pastor of stealing because they think they gave and they can't see what happened or how the money was used. Day 3. I think it will be very, very important that we understand this important thing that God taught us in the book of Leviticus, that there are roles for different individuals. Of course, you have to be careful and understand that in the New Testament concept, there isn't a particular tribe that is given the job to do certain things. Anybody born again can do whatever the Lord has called him to do. And there is not description, or you have to be tall, or you have to be short, you have to come from this tribe, you have to... No. There isn't a requirement. But at the same time, each organization, although it's not part of the biblical requirement, set standards and says the pastor must be somebody who has been through Bible school. So why will you insist on being not going to Bible school if the church you belong to requires it? Everything must be done in order, is what Paul tells us, and is what the book of Leviticus is also teaching us. And because we do not follow the dictates of the Old Testament, of the book of Leviticus, it will be important that we understand then that we are allowed by the scriptures to make our own system. It's Paul in the New Testament who said, on the first day of the week, save some money. That means that particular church was meeting on Sundays. And create a system. He says, don't just jump and ask people for money. Let there be a system. So Paul in the process is telling us systems matter, even if they were not put in the Bible in the first place. Day 4. So the verse is saying, the priest shall burn them at the altar as food offering present to the Lord. The priest has a particular role. I think the role we should avoid is the role of doing nothing in fellowship or in church. In fact, the scriptures in the New Testament say that when you come together, and I think that's an important thing to understand and deal with. When you come together, one has a hymn, one has a song, everybody has something they are doing, and they all matter. So you don't just come together and everybody does everything. So there is sort of confusion. The group itself must sit and say who is to do what. And that's the lesson we draw from the Old Testament. We don't do things the way the book of Leviticus put it, because now we have the freedom. But still we must be orderly. So you must agree who is to do what when. And I think that's what Paul is saying when he's saying everything must be done in order. So confusion is not the New Testament message. But we don't have to do things exactly the way they were done in the Old Testament. So what are we learning? Whatever it is we want to be involved in, whether in our families or in our businesses or in our fellowships or in our church, let's see the value of being organized and giving different people different roles. And on the basis of those roles, therefore the group will be better organized, God will be honored, and people will be blessed. And I think that's important. Day 5. So, here is, we are learning from the book of Leviticus that everybody has a role. Not everybody can do everything. There's a role for the king. There's a role for the priest. There's a role for the prophet. And some kings would actually say, don't understand why they can't do it. And so some of the kings try to offer. And according to, if you read the book of Chronicles and the book of Kings, you will see what God did to them. For a king trying to be a priest, trying to do things that only a priest was allowed to do. I think similarly, we need to come to where we also understand there are things to be done. If you have agreed that it's pastor who will be organizing things, let's allow him to organize. If you have agreed Sunday school children will not be in the main church, so be it. The only thing that we have been saying is, do not in orderliness and division of labor and discussing the roles, do not come to where you overemphasize the who is doing what and lose the sense. So, for example, if you can see the person you have given the task is being unable to do it, and therefore the sense of the task, the reason for the task is being lost. Obviously, it would be important for you to simply ask, brother, can we have somebody else do it? Because obviously, it will be clear that he isn't achieving the purpose. Because purpose matters. And I think that will be that will be an important thing for all of us to be aware of. That why have we given you this particular labor? The 6. I think it will be important for each person themselves, even if the pastor is telling you to do certain things, to seek the mind of God and find out, is that, number 1, do you feel God is calling you to it? Number 2, do you have the ability, the competence to actually do it? Number 3, will you really be able to meet the reason for the task? Will you be able to achieve it? And will it bring glory to God? If the answer is no to all those questions, I think then it will be better for you to tell the pastor, why don't you give me a different task? I am, like we have been saying, no task is not an option. Because the Bible is saying when you come together, each has a task. So we all must do something in the fellowship of believers. Doing nothing and sitting back to just criticize the ones that are trying to do something is not something you can. But however, do not feel forced to do things that do not in the end achieve the purpose, just because you fear the pastor or because you don't say like saying no. Check yourself. God will hold you accountable if you do things that dishonor him just because you are told by the pastor to do it. I think it will be important for you to do it. But of course, I'm also talking to the pastor to say it's good for any ministry not to be from the order of the pastor, but to be a discussion, both the pastor and the congregant, to pray about what role this congregant is going to do, and on the basis of that, allow the person to do it. Day 7. So, roles matter. Division of labor is a management concept that has helped organizations to actually do things that have helped in big ways progress the organization that is so organized. So similarly, in the work of God, it will be important for us to understand the importance of division of labor so that everybody is not topping on each other. When you don't have this division of labor, several things go wrong. Number 1, you have people trying to do certain things, and you have a lot of people in one thing. Other things that are not colorful, but are important to the business, to the organization, to the church, remain undone. And in the end, you haven't achieved the purpose for the organization or the church, because everyone went and they forgot some critical aspects that are not now being done. For example, if nobody volunteers to clean the toilets, within no time, the toilets are dirty and they are source of people getting sick. And within no time, people can't come to church. Or because somebody forgot to allocate duties for keeping the toilets clean. That is part of ministry, keeping the toilets clean. So the first thing that will go wrong is some very important things will remain undone. The second one is people stepping on each other. You have confusion. Even as some things are not being done, the ones where you are all together trying to do, you keep stepping on each other. Again, there will be confusion. There will be people hurting one another. And within no time, there will be people resigning from the fellowship because of this. Thirdly, if you don't have proper organization, not only will some things remain undone, not only will people step on each other, but you could very easily start all of you going to the wrong direction, not keeping to the vision of the church. Thank you very much.